want to segue hard with my example here because we're going completely different route. It's an oldie but a goodie, and it's a commercialized example. This is Burger King's Whopper Detour campaign. So this was in December 2018. Burger King launched their Whopper Detour campaign to boost mobile app subscribers and downloaders, and to take a little dig at their biggest competitor, McDonald's. So TLDR on what the campaign was, essentially they offered customers a Whopper for just 1 penny if they downloaded the new Burger King app and they ordered a Whopper within 600 feet of a McDonald's location. So they had these like geo-fenced in, and they would encourage them to go to that McDonald's and order the Whopper for 1 cent. So obviously there's a lot of things they kind of were able to catch on to here. It's pretty obscene. It's pretty bold in terms of directly talking about a competitor in your marketing assets. They made a lot of viral video content. Of course, there's a lot of their ads are literally like people going through the drive-through, like going to McDonald's, like, hey, can you get me a Whopper? And there's like this like weird disconnect. So what I found really interesting with this campaign to start with is just the boldness of directly calling out or talking about a competitor in your like very top of funnel marketing campaigns. These are ads that are going on TV. They're going on, they'll be putting a lot of paid spend behind these, like, and they're not shying away. You can see the McDonald's logo throughout. Like, it's very, very bold and direct, which again, when we talk about a lot of the folks listening here, B2B SaaS, there's often this coyness with talking about who you're competing with specifically and get very specific. In this case, they're like, screw it. Go to McDonald's, order a Whopper. It's going to be hilarious. And it got so much traction. So that's like the general framework of what they did. I'll share a little bit about the results and some of the things I think that are really interesting with this campaign and how it relates to some of our listeners here is, first of all, 3.5 billion impressions on social media from their ads, as well as user-generated content, people filming themselves going through the drive-thru, asking for the 1 cent Whopper. And there was a ton of like media coverage, like news outlets just kept pulling this up. Trolling is a great way to get eyeballs. So I can't even calculate how much 3.5 billion impressions would cost if you were to just put your paid spend to get 3.5 billion impressions. That's a lot of dineros. And then secondly, the campaign led to over 1 million app downloads, which I think is really, really important here. And within a few days, 1.5 million. The Burger King app went from number 686 in the App Store to number 1 within 48 hours. Those are big results from a fun, competitive marketing campaign. And so I think the interesting parts here is, one, calling out a direct competitor and doing it in a very absurd way to capture attention is great. Like, it's very jarring that they're being this direct with using McDonald's in all of their copy and how they're talking. And I think that's like, it's an interesting, we talked with Anthony Pieri a couple episodes ago about building your positioning and calling out a competitor. And it's actually a really strong way to do so when the competitor is the market leader or the benchmark brand, because that's how you can kind of like differentiate off of this. Now, I don't think they're necessarily coming in here and trying to differentiate the difference between a Whopper and a Big Mac, but they do play on the brand leader, the market perception, and literally putting out there like, yeah, this is kind of absurd. Hey, like, isn't this weird that we're completely building our whole campaign against a direct competitor? So I think that's like a really interesting example. And then the second thing is more like the business outcomes. It wasn't, again, to differentiate why a Whopper is healthier, tastier, or whatever. It was actually the business goal here was to drive app downloads. It was to get people onto the Burger King app because they know that I'm sure they have tons of spreadsheets that show like the customer value of someone that downloads an app. I would hazard a guess is like multiples and multiples higher than someone that just walks in the storefront and orders a Whopper. So if you get people downloading this app, we're likely going to get 10x revenue from these potential customers. And that's the goal. That's what their outcome was. It wasn't to differentiate. It was, we want to get a lot of downloads for our app, and we're going to actually do this absurd campaign directly going at a competitor to attract eyeballs to ultimately get us the downloads and the signups that we want, which is really unrelated to McDonald's, what they're trying to accomplish. And the results on that side too is, I think mobile sales tripled during the promotion. So they're getting a ton of downloads, they're getting a ton of signups, and that's actually also translating into dollars and cents. So I think that is the really cool thing, is using competition, competitors as a means to achieve other business objectives rather than just like why we're better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think like to your point, the goal was to generate downloads of their app. But it's cool that, they used for this campaign in particular, it's not only that they were going out and just finding, anyone, me and you off the street. Maybe we don't, who knows? Maybe we're Wendy's people, right? Like it's not that they were going out looking for anyone to download their app. They were like, we want to take people who normally would buy a Big Mac, and we want them to now download our app. Right. And it was like very targeted approach to who they wanted to be that increase in app downloads. And I'm sure it caught on with other people as well. But it's a cool example of like, their goal is to, yes, get downloads of their app. Ultimately, their goal is to also try to convert people who were normally going to buy McDonald's stuff to now go get the Burger King app and to start buying Burger King, which is like a really cool, there's kind of like multiple layers to it. But yeah, I love the other thing that was sticking out to me with this campaign and the whole kind of this like proximity to a big McDonald's when you had to do it. It's like when you look at today in say like B2B SaaS, for example, a lot of times, like, where do people promote their comparison pages? It's like they'll do it on Google, for example, and they'll pay for competitive keywords. And when someone goes and searches, right, like, I don't know, when someone goes and searches product, say like Basecamp, they'll have like a ClickUp ad. Like ClickUp will have their comparison page and they'll pay for that paid spot. And that's where they'll promote the comparison page. And it's interesting because like, who are they looking for? They're looking for people who are actively looking to buy that type of software. And they're looking for people who are interested in Basecamp, for example, right? And then they're saying, hey, come and look at ClickUp. And it's kind of like similar where with this campaign, they were saying, hey, we want people who would normally or are maybe looking to go and get a Big Mac. And we want them now. It's like, they're hungry, they're about to go and buy a burger. Let's get them to actually download our app, and then we can get them over here to buy a Whopper for 99 cents. It's like so cool. Or a cent.
Yeah, it's a great example. And I love as well, what I like is I think it serves a lot of purpose. Like the benefits kind of work across many avenues here. Obviously the signups, the reach, like a marketing campaign that gets that much reach, regardless of just like any kind of brand campaign, that would be deemed successful. And doing it through this way of physical marketing, still, like I think everything is so digital now that they do this thing that's like boots on the ground campaign that then translates onto social. It translates into app downloads, but it all starts with like physical presence. Like that's the crux of the campaign, is to be physically 600 feet within McDonald's to be a part of it. And that's kind of what you mentioned, like this real IRL version of the paid competitive keyword is like, hey, if you're in proximity here, you're part of this campaign. We're targeting you, which is so awesome. Like it's so funny.
Yeah. And it would only work if you are doing this either towards, in the case of Burger King versus McDonald's is massive. Burger King's also massive. But if Burger King went and did this campaign to like every mom and pop burger shop, it would not go over well. People would not like it. So it's also a good lesson of, you wouldn't want to reverse this and try this against other competitors that are challengers of you. It only really works if you're going after like the big one.
That's such a great call out, because they managed to make themselves look like the relatable company, even though they're a multi-billion dollar company as well. But when you go after the brand, like, you can always punch up. No one wants to see you punch down. You can always punch up. And again, it does harken back to that episode when we talked with Anthony Pieri about helping this company, Freckle, build their positioning as the easier to use version of Clay is like build off of this pillar that everyone knows and recognizes, and then find your area. So I think there's always an opportunity to punch up. And yeah, don't be doing this to mom and pop stores. That would be, I wonder what would have happened. I mean, I still want a 1 cent Whopper.
Yeah, it is a really cool campaign. The one thing that I found myself, I was like, it'd be cool if they could find people who were near a McDonald's and then somehow ping them with the offer.
Yeah.
The whole idea of like, I got to see this ad, then I got to go to McDonald's, and then I got to get the no 1 cent, and then I got to go to a Burger King. That was a lot of driving around for me if I was in someone's shoes, and I was like, maybe I missed something about it where I was, but who knows? Maybe like obviously it worked, but I was like, it'd be even cooler if they were able to find people as they were on their way into a McDonald's. But I do remember they had billboards and stuff right outside McDonald's. So that's probably how they did it.
They also had these like frames, these like Burger King detour frames that would be perfectly framed. Like the McDonald's location would be in that frame of this physical location as well.
Right.
But I think like the utility probably could have been a slightly smoother as well.
But I think that it's also cool too. Like maybe this campaign was like, they really focused on like, I don't know, like highly populated kind of like cities where there's a lot of foot traffic. And so people are walking by McDonald's, and I'm sure the closest Burger King could buy an ad next to that McDonald's with that frame made sense. And then all these people would be like, oh, on their way to McDonald's would see it. That would be pretty cool.
I'm going to jump in as producer here. After doing some research, they actually had it where like it was geo-fenced. So if you were within however many feet, you'd get a notification on your phone.
Awesome.
If you had the Burger King app. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, so it would go like if you're near, like, so you could, to what you're saying, like it would go 600 feet. If you're within however many feet, you get a ping, and then so you wouldn't have to see the ad before.
So okay, so if you had the Burger King app, yeah, if you see this on TV and then you have like the Burger King, gets you to download the Burger King app, and then you're out walking around and then you automatically get pinged and it says, hey, here's your 1 cent Whopper as you're about to walk into a McDonald's. That's sad.
That obviously doesn't increase downloads, but like for the people that already had it downloaded, you'd get a notification. So activity in the app was going up too.
That's cool.